What's up, my friends? Happy Friday. What a week, huh? It's a crazy time we're living in, y'all. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. I'm here for my weekly reading roundup, my virtual book club. And it's so cool because we've been doing this virtual book club for years now. And it's one thing that gets to stay constant in my life, and hopefully yours as well, because this has always been done virtually. And I started this virtual book club because I wasn't able to make a commitment weekly to go physically to a book club. And I thought if I was having that same struggle, yet same desire to be a part of a book club, I wonder if other people were as well. And why not start something virtual that we can all kind of tune into live or after the fact and throughout the week, and to be able to take the same good things away from what a book club does with just reading a good book in general and the takeaways that we have ourselves, and then being part of a book club and sharing the book club takeaways that we have with other people, and then learning from other people's takeaways and growing and becoming better together. So it's so funny how things work out, y'all, because the book that we've been reading, and this is the actual last chapter that we've read this week, the book that we've been reading is called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And y'all, if there was a better time to read this book than right now, there's not. This is the best time to read this book and to embrace its learnings and the opportunities that await you in it. Now more than ever. It's always been an important book. When I read it years and years ago, it was super important and has changed my life completely. And I think right now, in the midst of what we're all going through together as a world, it's more important now than ever to focus on our self-care and taking care of ourselves, both physically and mentally. And we're finding ourselves with a lot of downtime, perhaps more so than we would like, more so than we would, more so than we want. Now is the perfect time to pick up something that is going to maybe be a little bit difficult to do, simply because it's hard in general to do when we have our normal day-to-day lives and when we're busy with work and with school and with stuff going on with our families and stuff like that. But right now, the world is kind of shut down in regards to what's going on with COVID-19. So we can either decide to take this one way and go down a dark hole of depression, of worry, of fear, of the unknown, all of those things, or we can choose to make the absolute best of the situation that we're in right now and use the time wisely to better ourselves and to become stronger, to try something new, to dive into something difficult that we might have been putting off simply because we didn't have the time. So I challenge you guys to embrace this time, and this book is a great way to start. The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. So we've been doing this book club now for 9 weeks, and this is chapter 9, the final chapter of the book that we're discussing, and it's all about habit creation and the steps that we go through to create a habit. And let's be real, creating new habits is really hard. It's very difficult. A lot of people put it off because of that exact reason. And I think that this chapter's breakdown for me showed me the steps that a habit creation takes, and it made sense to me. And I was like, oh, okay, so when you break it down, once I get past a certain point, it's going to be easier. So I really liked how this chapter breaks it down. So chapter 9 of The Miracle Morning is what we're chatting about today. So the author talks about 3 steps that a habit goes through before it officially becomes something that's ingrained in your life. The first part is unbearable. Days 1 through 10 of habit creation are literally unbearable. They disrupt our current life. They disrupt our current flow of our day. They are involving something that is challenging simply because we've never done it before. Sometimes this part involves overcoming a fear, so addressing that fear dead on is really difficult. So unbearable is the perfect title for what the first 10 days of a habit creation is all about. And when this author, this esteemed, well-written, well-trained, all of the above, I look up to this guy so much. If he calls the first 10 days of a habit creation as unbearable, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's okay to not like those first few days. So it was almost like he gives us permission in this chapter to really not like making this new habit a part of your life. And I like that because I think before I read this chapter, it was always like, it seemed like so easy, like, oh, just simply do this thing for, 21 days and boom, it's like a habit. Well, no one seemed to address the fact that it's really difficult and that it's hard and that you just want to complain the whole time and that it sometimes involves waking up early and doing things you don't want to do and all that stuff. So the fact that for the first 10 days, this author calls that the unbearable phase made me, gave me permission to dislike that part. And I really liked that because that made me open to trying a new habit and being okay with those negative feelings that are maybe associated sometimes with that habit creation. So the next chunk of time in habit creation, days 11 through 20, are what he calls uncomfortable. So it's no longer unbearable, but it's still very uncomfortable. And I like this because he's still acknowledging that it's something that's challenging, something that we might not like to do, and something that we might not have completely bought into yet, and it has not yet been ingrained in our lives. So still, again, giving us permission to not necessarily like those days, and to know that if we can continue pushing through, we'll come out on top. So the uncomfortable phase, though, it's a little easier to deal with than the unbearable phase, of course, because it's something that we've been doing now for almost 2 weeks, and it's kind of become, we've gotten into a new groove kind of thing, and it's not as foreign, and maybe the fear factor has died off a little bit. So it's now in that uncomfortable phase. And then the last phase that he calls habit creation is days 21 through 30, and that's unstoppable. Because at this point, just like you've probably heard before, a habit creates 21 days or a habit takes 21 days to become a proper habit. So from days 21 to 30, you're good now. Like, this has been 3 weeks in the making of changing your routine to accommodate this new habit, changing your mindset to going from fear to it's just a part of your life that you're embracing now. You've got a sense of pride because you've accomplished this. You've had this going strong for 21 days, and now you're in that unstoppable phase. And that last 10-day chunk of time is so crucial because that is really what solidifies. Like, once you've created the habit on day 21, fantastic, you've created it. Now keep going. And if you can get through that other 10 days. So I thought it coincidental, if you will, that we are kind of on a 30-day lockdown as ordered by our governor. So what better time than right now to embrace this? This book talks about creating a chunk of time, primarily in the morning for most people, where it is all dedicated to your self-care. So meditation, deep breathing, prayer, journaling, gratitude, affirmations, exercise, those sorts of things. And I think the challenging part of this concept for people to grab a hold of is the fact that the author wants you to wake up early in the morning, earlier than you would. So like an hour, 30 minutes earlier, whatever. And I think that's the challenging part for most people, is agreeing to give up that hour or half an hour of sleep. So why I think this is such a great time to do now is because the author at chapters previously says that this can actually be done at any time throughout the day. So there's got to be a time during this quarantine period that we're all living through together right now that we've got 30 minutes to spare, that we have 30 minutes where we're like, what should I do right now, right? And it's kind of like an empty feeling. So why not fill this void in our life with something that's going to be dedicated to bettering yourself? And so if you take that chapter and combine it with this chapter in habit creation, find a chunk of time. This is what my takeaway was from this. Find a chunk of time where you're finding yourself idle, where you're finding yourself not knowing what to do, where you're finding your thoughts wander into deep, dark places where you don't want them to go. And dedicate that time to Miracle Morning. This book can be found on Amazon. I know Amazon's got some like weird delivery dates now because of everything and needing to be able to push essential items out to people. So look into online versions of this book as well. It can be found on a lot of the Audible platforms and like listening platforms. And then there's also breakdowns of each chapter that you can find online as well. So regardless of how you're going to embrace this book, I strongly encourage you to get a copy of this book as soon as you can and embrace the topics that it talks about. Be open to what they're saying. And in this time of kind of uncertainty and unknown, where it's crucially important, vitally important that we are filling the time of our day that we are maybe having extra of now with positivity and kind of coming together, I encourage you to pick up this book. It's a fantastic read, very easy read. The guy has a Facebook group called The Miracle Morning, and there's like a whole community behind it, and people have some really, really cool stories that they share once they have incorporated Miracle Morning into their lives. So I encourage you to look into that, whatever it's going to take. But I just thought, what a coincidence that we're finishing such an amazing book, such a life-changing book at literally the perfect time when it might be very necessary, but also very practical to add something like this into our daily routine when we've got a little bit of extra time. So pick up a copy, check it out, share your feedback with me, write in the comments the takeaways that you've had if you've read this book before, or if you've read chapter 9 specifically. But let's learn together and grow together and get through this together. My heart goes out to everyone that's been impacted by everything going on right now with their jobs and everything. And my heart goes out to all the people that have had their health affected by COVID-19 and different things being disrupted, like trips and, special events and big life events and everything in between. My heart just goes out to everyone. And I love you all. I love that we have such a cool technology platform in this day and age that we get to stay connected with each other as best as possible when we're not able to fully be in each other's presence. It's just awesome. So I love that everybody's keeping in touch, and my heart goes out to everyone, and we will get through this together. And I'm here if anybody wants to chat or text or anything. Let's just rock this out and look back at this month, at this 2 months, however long it's going to be. Let's look back and know that we took control of it, that we were in charge, and that this was something that was given to us, that we accepted as a gift, that we believed was something that was meant for us to better ourselves and not fall victim to what's going on. I know we can end up on top with this. So hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend, and we will chat soon. We'll announce next week what the next book of the book club is going to be. I had it in mind. We were going to do this book called You Are a Badass, which I'm super excited to read. But I decided that given the current events of what's going on, that I wanted to pick a book that is going to help us learn to cope with change and to cope with that on every different level. So I'm going to do some research, and we'll announce the book. Next week. And if anyone has any recommendations as to what book this should be with that topic in mind, shoot it out there and we'll look into it. So anyway, thanks for joining along. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Mwah.